So to me, it's about those Golden State Warriors. I'm sorry. That's where I'm at with it.
You know what, Stephen A? That's a damn shame. I expect better out of you. And let me tell you why you're wrong. When I look at the team to beat, I'm looking down there at South Beach at the Miami Heat, a team that went to the finals 2 years ago, a team that
missed the dunk. Rebound, Simmons bats it out to Embiid. The Heat are going to have to foul. Down by 2. Oh, Butler knocked it away. Here's Hero with 8 seconds left for 3.
Young and reckless, patient and waiting on you to test. Got these diamonds on me up in every section. Every nigga around me really with the step. Got a bitch look like Keisha, I call her Billy. These niggas gon' take it as if you lit it. I'ma say it myself, I won't send a message. If you run up on me, I'ma up and stretch em. That money ahead of me. 18 a felon, I think that they scared of me. 50 grand for a show if they headed me. Come to that money, you cannot compare to me. Stacking that check, I'm not spending my salary. You know that I'm with it, I swear ain't no cap in me. Steady be running, the police be after me. I'm going under if I let them capture me. Say you won't smoke when I catch him, I got him. Straight out that no, bitch, I come from the bottom. Working that bitch, so she called me a doctor. He reached for my neck and get hit with that chopper. Sipping on drink and I swear I ain't stopping. I pour a deuce up inside of my bottle. Asking for somebody, giving the time.
I'm looking down there at South Beach at the Miami Heat.
The Miami Heat. They're the number 1 seed in the East. They're a top 5 defense. They have the best defensive core in the league. They have the best depth in the league. They have some of the best leadership in the league, from Jimmy Butler, Kyle Lowry, and Eric Spoelstra. But why doesn't anyone believe in them? At the start of the season, it was no question. We all knew the East was going to be a bloodbath, but we didn't know it was going to be this bad. Going off last year, the Knicks had just come off a great season where they saw drastic improvement with their very young roster. The Hawks just shocked the league with their conference finals run, and if some luck went their way with injuries, the Hawks might have made the finals and destroyed Giannis' legacy. If they didn't show it in 2018, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown were cementing themselves as stars, if they hadn't already. I'd go as far as to say Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum can honestly both be first options on good playoff teams. The Bulls picked up DeMar DeRozan, adding a third All-Star to go alongside Vooch and LaVine. I don't think we forgot about the Ben Simmons trade saga that dominated the NBA media for months. I know I was hella sick just going onto YouTube and just seeing Ben Simmons this, Ben Simmons that. That shit was so annoying, but Joel Embiid was playing out of his mind through that saga, able to carry his team to the early season, and he really raised doubts in our head as to whether even if they needed Simmons. I haven't even mentioned the Big 3 Nets yet, and how when they were on the floor together, all 3 of them, I'm gonna be honest, they were an all-time great team. Oh yeah, and the Bucks. Overall, you don't need Stephen A. Smith or some analytical nerd to tell you that this Eastern Conference was and is looking really stacked. This was the first time since the Jordan era that the East was this good compared to the West.
When I look at the team to beat, I'm looking down there at South Beach at the Miami Heat.
At some points during this season, hell, even the Wizards were looking like they were on big timing. Unpredictable is one way to describe the season for sure. And it's a pretty scary thought to think that either the Bulls, Sixers, Nets, or Bucks can all go out in the first round and also be seen as champions by everyone. Take in, we haven't even mentioned the number 1 seed yet, the Miami Heat, a team led by one of the most clutch and excellent leaders in Jimmy Butler, a team with the Defensive Player of the Year candidate, as well as someone who is putting up career offensive numbers, Bam Adebayo. Reasserting himself as one of the premier scorers of the league, Tyler Hero has bounced back in a major way and is likely going to be the 6th man of the year as things are going right now. Picking up Kyle Lowry in the offseason, a veteran floor general, their expectations have been raised, and this season their performance has reflected their improvement. They have had some of the best depth in the NBA, the best defensive core in the NBA, excellent leadership, great offense, but no one believes in them. A superstar is different to everybody. Though us NBA fans tend to disagree a lot, we can agree that superstars are players that are on a different level. Players that are able to get to their spot whenever they want, and have the ability to take over the games just by themselves and their sheer will whenever it's needed. It's difficult to put a vague title like superstar under one definition, rather it's a lot easier to use examples. In the East, the Sixers have their superstar in Joel Embiid, a double-double machine night in and night out. Somebody who has been able to bring back the post-game as an offensive weapon and is able to dominate bigs in the interior each night. The Bucks have Giannis, the best two-way player in the NBA, who is an unguardable monster. So much so teams have almost completely abandoned trying to stop him and dedicate their defense to try stopping their teammates. The Nets have KD, who is one of the greatest scorers of all time without a doubt, and when it comes down to the wire, he can hit a shot from anywhere on the court. It's crazy, man, what these superstars can really do. These players all share one thing in common, and it's their ability to dominate a game solely based on their will. They're consistently dominant. When you look at Jimmy Butler, that's not really something you can say about him.
Mid-floor, and Hunter is the defender. Bam guarded by Clint. Backdoor.
Hey, yo!
I'm joking. Stop the break. Stop.
Compared to other players in crunch time, Jimmy Butler can be passive, and he doesn't have the ability and dominance to completely change the game the way superstars do. The Warriors had Curry, the Cavs had LeBron, the Heat had Wade and LeBron, the Lakers had Shaq, the Bulls had Jordan, and the list goes on and on. The last time a team won without a true superstar was 18 years ago when the Pistons won in 04, which is the only exception. But even with the Pistons, they had a really good team with extremely good players and coaching. Case in point, the 2015 Hawks. They, like the Heat, were the #1 seed in the East. They infamously had 4 All-Stars, were a top 5 defense in the league at the time, and had a crazy amount of depth. Is this starting to sound familiar yet? But there's a reason why they're negatively remembered, and that's because of how it all ended, when they were swept in spectacular fashion by the LeBron-led Cavs in 2015. The importance of a superstar for a championship team cannot be overstated in the newer era of basketball. The difference of a superstar can be the difference in winning a championship and being a second-round exit, as seen with the Toronto Raptors when they acquired Kawhi. History has shown us that to contend with the best, you need the best. You need a superstar that will be able to turn the game around when you need it the most. And unfortunately for the Miami Heat, they do not have a player like that in Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler has been very inconsistent offensively and can sometimes be a borderline liability. Right now, Jimmy Butler is shooting a horrifying 19% from 3 on 2 attempts a game, while shooting 37% from mid-range, and on catch-and-shoot opportunities, he is shooting 25%. I know we give shit to players like Ben Simmons and Giannis for being bad shooters, but I don't think Jimmy's getting his blame here. A majority of his points come from inside the paint or from the free throw line. This wasn't always the case though, because back in Philly he was a respectable 3-point shooter, but for the last 3 seasons with Miami, he has been shooting far below league average from 3, meaning that this problem isn't likely to be resolved soon. In the playoffs, the game in basketball is slowed down much more than in the regular season. There is more half-court offense as opposed to transition offense, and Jimmy Butler isn't the type of guy to get a tough basket against a set defense throughout the entire game. As well as this, we can't forget that Kyle Lowry, well, he isn't someone who he used to be. And this is coming from a diehard Raptors fan. Kyle Lowry's offense has always been relatively inconsistent in past years, but more so now. He has been inefficient this season, shooting a career low 41% from the field and 34% from 3. The last time he shot this poorly from 3 was in 2010. We all know Kyle Lowry is the type of player though, whose impact goes beyond the stat sheet. He provides veteran leadership, he's an excellent playmaker and great hustler. But with Kyle Lowry especially, he's no longer someone who you can rely on in the playoffs as a top option to score like he was in Toronto. Though his play right now has definitely helped him in the regular season, Kyle Lowry is a player that works best supporting a true superstar like Kawhi Leonard, instead of a star like Jimmy Butler or DeMar DeRozan during the playoffs. I'm not sure how they'll play against teams like the Bucks, Sixers, or Nets with their offensive holes. 2 of their primary scorers are inconsistent, one of them being wildly inefficient this season, while the other having a very shallow offensive game. Depth is always a great thing to have during the regular season. It enables teams to give their star players rest while having confidence they have other players to rely on. It gives teams versatility, and having more good players to fill out your bench is always a great thing to have. It's been huge for the Heat this season throughout, with the 6th man of the year leading their bench, Tyler Hero. Well, he's been going absolutely crazy. 21 points off the bench, 40% from 3, he's definitely been having a bounce back season. Their backup backcourt is great, with Tyler Hero and Victor Oladipo giving them a strong spark offensively. And even though Victor Oladipo has been injured for quite a while, we all know what he's capable of. We've seen it all this season too with the Miami Heat. They've been dealing with so many injuries and health and safety protocols, and their bench has really stepped up to the task of filling in for their star players. But the fact of the matter is, however great depth is in the regular season, its importance does not translate into the postseason. Come playoff time, it's already a given that rotations will be cut short, which means that in most cases, the advantage of that good depth would have in the regular season is minimized in the playoffs. It's not uncommon to see teams running 6 to 7 man rotations by the second round. In LeBron's first playoff run when he was 21, he averaged a staggering 43 minutes per game in the playoffs. You're probably thinking that this is because he had to carry and all that stuff, Cavs, bad, needs more minutes. But even in 2011 and 2012 with the Miami Heat, he averaged 41 minutes a game. That's with the big three. But then again, that is LeBron James. That's a different type of tier player. Looking back at the Heat's 2020 run, and we're not even going to go that far. We're looking at the Heat themselves, and most of the roster has been the same for the past 2 years. And we can see that Jimmy Butler in 2020 during the playoffs went from playing 33 minutes a game in the regular season to averaging 40 minutes in the playoffs. Goran went from 28 minutes to 33 minutes, while Tyler Hero went from playing 27 minutes to 34 minutes. In the regular season, having superior depth allows teams to roll past lower tier teams, as the 8th and 9-man rotations is simply superior compared to the lower tier teams in the NBA. But in the playoffs, when teams are playing their best players far more, depth becomes less important. With the way load management has been this season, all players are much more well rested, meaning that variables like fatigue and stress will negatively affect them as much in the playoffs. This season's Eastern Conference has been historically competitive this season, compared to past years, including the 2020 bubble run. Though that run in 2020 was historic, it can't be understated that this year's East competition is far more tough than what they faced in the bubble season. Just last season, Miami disappointed not just their fans, but everybody from the way they started and finished their 2021 season when they were humiliated by the Bucks. Other teams this season simply outmatched them in a playoff setting. Out of this whole team, coincidentally, it is Tyler Hero who is the only consistently good scorer on the team. Kyle Lowry has again proven us this season that he has regressed offensively and has become inconsistent. Jimmy Butler at many times can also be a black hole offensively with his lack of spacing and very inefficient mid-range shot. Compared to other superstars in the East like Giannis, Embiid, Durant, and Jimmy Butler has trouble creating his own shot and making a difference on the offensive end like his competition can. One of the biggest questions for the Miami Heat is their ability to create shots. Durant and Giannis, Embiid, DeRozan, Tatum, Levine, Brown, they're all players who are able to effectively create their own shot. They're players who you can give the ball to and you can expect reliable and consistent scoring. Other than Tyler Hero again, nobody on the Heat team is consistent offensively. Right now, Miami's in 11th place in offensive rating behind teams like the Bulls, Bucks, and Nets. In a league that demands super talent from the best teams, Jimmy Butler isn't a player who can change the game like Embiid and Giannis can. And though Miami's defense and depth helps them defeat lower tier teams in the regular season, during the playoffs when teams cut down their rotations, the Miami Heat starting five simply gets outshined. To conclude, the Miami Heat, all things considered, are a great team. For as much as I may have criticized them in the video, they're still one of the best defensive teams in the league, with great leadership. Overall though, in an Eastern Conference that is especially stacked with talent and contenders, the Miami Heat do not match up against them. They're a team that's great in the regular season. Their strengths in defense and depth help them cruise past lower seed teams. However, in a playoff setting against the greatest teams, their lack of offensive consistency and ability to create shots harms them greatly. Jimmy Butler simply isn't a good enough player to lead this team compared to other talents like Embiid and Giannis. And though they've been great this regular season, in my opinion, we shouldn't let their number one seeding deceive us.